Okay, sure, thanks. It's nice to be here. So my name is Dave Friedman again. I'm CEO and a co-founder of Ayla Networks. Ayla was founded to provide a software and services layer to help connect things to the internet and manage the data and provide analytics back for those things. What we believe is, as we've recently received investment from companies like Cisco, we believe those 50 billion things that they talk about, that last mile is actually kind of difficult. So we're trying to solve that as we bring the data up to the cloud and then help our customers, manufacturers, transform themselves into much more data-centric companies. We believe the Internet of Things is really about harnessing the data and doing important things with it.
Thank you, David. And Barney, I know you're quite a successful entrepreneur. And actually, Barney sold his company to Microsoft for $100 million only after 3 years' work. And it's called PowerSet. It's a search engine. And you may talk a little about why you switch from pure software to Internet of Things, that combination of software and hardware.
Okay. Yeah, hi, everyone. I'm Barney Pell. I'm a co-founder and chairman of LocoMobi. LocoMobi is reinventing parking and transportation technology, bringing mobile, Internet of Things, cloud computing, and kind of AI-based license plate recognition technology to really change everything in transportation, solving the problems for the people who own the assets and for basically the consumers. We offer the kind of fully integrated system, the only one in the world that integrates all of those elements. And our manufacturing is actually done in China, in Wuxi, and some of the systems in various stages have been deployed already in China. It's actually company's a recent merger between two. I had started a company called QuickPay that was doing mobile payments and connecting mobile payments for parking transportation, so you could just use your mobile phone to access everything. And then we merged with the other company that had the end-to-end parking infrastructure, so now we offer that all together. But in terms of Internet of Things, we now take what was previously like no one knew. All the parking equipment infrastructure was generally offline. No one has any information about it. No one knows what's going on inside a facility garage. And now it's all moving to the cloud through sort of smart parking gates, smart sensors, cameras that have awareness. So when the examples of all these devices need to connect together, there really is just a daily deluge of information, and now we can bring it all to the cloud and to everyone who needs it.
And Gilad, before I introduce Gilad to you, I'd like to ask you a question. How about you take a guess? Guess what kind of books Gilad used to write about? You guys, coding? Programming? No, how about Gilad, you told them?
No, it's not children's books. Yeah, so I authored 3 cooking books, all in Hebrew, so I'm from Israel, and it's all about outdoors cooking. So if you need to go camp outside and you need some cooking advice, I'm your guy. Yeah, that was a while back, a different life. They're still selling, by the way, but you need to know Hebrew. So my name is Gilad, and I'm the CEO of Nura. And what we do, we're highly focused around understanding consumers and allowing devices to understand these consumers. And essentially what we offer is artificial intelligence for the Internet of Things. Similar to how all of you here in the room, if you all take out your phone and you put the word buy in Google, you will all get very different results, even though you're all in the same place, in the same room, because Google creates a personal experience for you. We believe devices and ecosystems like home should all be very personal, very intuitive to you versus your partners, versus you in the evening, you in the morning, etc., according to what it is you desire to do with them. Essentially, instead of programming things, having things adapt to you, respond to you.
Yeah, since Gilad, you talk about AI for Internet of Things, I think there's 2 stages in this area. The first is get connected. The second stage is AI, is the machine learning. And do you think AI is a little bit too advanced for the market now?
Well, I agree. First, you need to go and get connected through the Ayla networks of the world. And the second is to do something with the data. one of the things you can do with the data is provide intelligence. Now, I agree the market is at its infancy, but one might say that the only intelligent product out there was just sold for $3.2 billion. Obviously, the Nest, the only device with adaptive learning capabilities. So I do think the market is appreciating enchantment, right? To make a device into an enchanted device, just plug it in and forget about it. And from what I see around consumer electronic, telcos, they are highly interested in making these solutions relevant to people who are not software engineers, but to my grandmother. And my grandmother will not necessarily create a rule, but if a rule was offered to her that is a relevant rule at the relevant time, she would definitely opt in.
Yeah, yes, but before AI, maybe we need more connected. And I think that's David, you are very good at, right? Could you talk a bit more how you like connect all these devices to the cloud and to other devices?
Sure. When we started Ayla, my co-founder helped architect and build a Kindle, and we sort of thought again that, boy, that's a great product. There are a lot of ebook readers, but then the Kindle, and the Kindle is really a fabric of software from a device to the cloud to the applications, and it just works. And you can make a change anywhere, and it'll happen. But when we started the company and we were thinking about the Internet of Things, we understood that word things is actually really important. It can be anything. It can be any set of data. It can be any device, any system architecture. There is no OS for things. But the one thing we knew about the Internet of Things is that a device would have to add communication. So actually what we did from the very beginning was our initial design wins were with the leading communications chip companies. And so we have software running in those chips, and it just takes care of everything. It's sort of an IoT modem that gets the data and the device and manages it up to the cloud to make it so our customers don't need to know networking. They don't need to know certificates, Ruby or Java or databases. And then once we have the data, our customers first want to do something like make a thermostat like the Nest, which they can't do. They don't know what Berkeley socket is. They don't know networking at all, let alone all the other things. But then they do want to learn. They would love to be able to learn how customers use their products. Their engineers would love to learn how the things are failing. And so actually the intelligence is really where the money will be in this space. It's of very high value to them.
How about Barney? You talk about your changes, the changes you made in the transportation systems.
Yeah, so one example is if you ever go to a parking facility and it's got a gate, and you go and you push a button, you take a ticket, and then you drive in, the gate opens, you drive in, and then when you're ready to leave, you wait in line, go to the pay station, put the ticket back in, it figures out the rate and you pay it, and then you come, you take your ticket, and you put it into the gate, and then you leave. We wanted to let all that be simplified through a mobile device. So you can come up, take out your phone, scan using the camera, a little QR code sticker right at the gate, and then the gate would just open. Then you drive in, and when you're ready to leave, you skip all the pay stations, you go, you scan out with your phone, and the gate opens. You're charged in the background, just like the kind of Uber experience, and then you leave. So a much nicer experience for users. Then the question is, how do you actually do that? Because your mobile device is talking up to the internet, but then how do you actually talk down to the parking gate? So we invented what we call the QP Gate Kit, which is a small piece of hardware, and one end of the hardware connects to the internet, either through a physical connection or through the wireless. And then the other connects to the actual relays for the parking gate. Also, when you go into park, they have some metal strips that tell if a car is present. That way they know to erase the gate only if a car is there. So we take that information through a basic Internet of Things approach, take that up into our cloud, so we know if the cars are present at the gate, and then we're able to detect when the user decided with a mobile phone to do a transaction to actually send the command down to raise the gate. So what was a disconnected system then becomes connected. And as we're talking about here, there's then the challenge of getting the actual the physical connectivity out into that facility, and then the continuous stream of data and processing it. We're using another kind of vendor in this space that enables that kind of connectivity, but it's absolutely critical with managing all this data. And then you can run the business logic on top of it and really not have to worry too much about how the actual data transport system's actually working. One other thing to mention on that is that we also have license plate recognizing cameras that basically do the same kind of thing. They check every single car, so then you don't even need to have a mobile phone at all. But that works because all the data is flowing up and down in real time, every single car with the license plate being tracked and connecting to all the rest of the systems in the cloud.
Yeah, I guess that's going to be a lifesaver for people living in San Francisco. It's not that difficult to find parking lots anymore. And no matter it's Uber for parking, as Barney described, or as smart home, or as like maybe the devices can know better than yourself, like Gilad described. I think the most important thing is how you can find the best partnership in the market and how you can push it into reality. And David, do you mind sharing your experience in this partnership? And maybe if we can start from David.
Sure. So I agree. I think the market, the Internet of Things, is so vague but also broad and big that really the only way to win for a startup and even probably for the larger companies is to build the ecosystem. Actually, I think the companies with the best ecosystems will win because this are things talking to cloud and cloud services and applications. So for us, we certainly partner with all the chip companies. Those are very valuable partners to us, even module companies that they create unique part numbers with our software in them. In China, actually, our latest round of funding, a lot of the money was actually from China, and we've worked with companies like Wearable. And again, those are very strong partnerships. These are very, very strong application companies where, our view was, what if things could connect to these applications and social networks? And of course, Cisco to target enterprise types of applications that as a startup alone, I think we might not be able to pursue alone.
Mm-hmm. And for those who don't know, Weibo is Twitter in China. I think so.
That's about as close as you can describe.
Yeah. And Barney?
I totally agree. It's all about ecosystems and partnership. We're quite a small company, and so how is it that we managed to have all this capability and changing all this park infrastructure? One piece is actually we have a manufacturing partnership with a company based in Wuxi, and it's amazing what you can now do with these partners. We're able to create whole new kinds of devices and get them turned around within a month. And at low cost, and also by moving the brains up into the cloud, we can then have a great system where we can have the intellectual property in the software up in the cloud, and all the rest of the hardware system be turned around and updated quite quickly. We also have another company that makes the license plate recognizing cameras themselves, based out of Hungary, and then we have dealers and distributors and using Amazon Web Services for data center. So all the pieces that we don't have to do can be done separately, and so a small company can basically make a massive set of transportation infrastructure.
Yeah, I think because the Internet of Things as a vague term is so basic, so beginning, I think you have many companies racing towards a focused goal. It can be making the best connectivity solution, it can be at chip level, it can be security, it can be machine learning, artificial intelligence. At this point, I don't think there is one single compelling player. I'm sure that the Googles and the Samsung and the Apples are going there, but even Apple in their latest announcement, you see how much partnership they have. So I don't think there is a single player that can sort of afford to launch a fully comprehensive solution from day one. I think there is one of the problem, at least with consumer, is that everything is driven by supply, right? Us users are not standing and screaming, give me an activity monitor, but rather the Samsung and the HPs, they think of these ideas and they shoot them out to the market, and a big chunk of them, even if it's true value, the user experience is still challenging. I heard what Sony said here just before us. but it's a well-known secret that these activity monitors, for example, even though you have 50 players, are used for 3 months and then, staying as a fashion accessory on your wrist. So I think I think it will not be wise at this point to go from idea to selling to the user all the way through only a single player. And I think there is a lot of willingness to partner up. I mean, this is how I see it. Even the Samsung and the HPs are all seeking to boost up their value proposition they're offering by talking to, unique solution providers, weather connectivity, intelligence, etc.
And since you talk about people gonna throw away their wearable devices after 3 months, I just wondering how long you keep yours.
Yeah, well, I'm unique. I need those for testing. I think at any given moment I have between 2 and 5 wearable devices. And every couple times a day I take my devices for a walk because I need the data. So instead of taking my dog for a walk, I take my devices for a walk. But I do think, I've experienced essentially all consumer devices out there. I do have my winners. Shine, that was here before, is definitely, I think, on top of the list. But overall, it's still a lacking experience. And the numbers talk, right? Some of you might have seen that the Gear Watch that have been released by Samsung is flooding eBay, right? All people, everyone who has it want to sell it. And again, I think it's a worthy cause. I think it's a great attempt, but it's still not there. It's still sort of 1.0.
And what kind of wearable devices you are already partnered with, like Fitbit, Jawbone, or do you mind sharing?
So we have 2 types. We talk to devices in the sense that we can read their data. We have about 45 devices. It's not a partnership as much as we just take we have sort of API status, and there we talk to essentially any wearable device that has the ability to communicate with third parties. The deep partnership, we'll leave it as an NDA for now.
Yeah. Barney, I think things going to be a little bit different for you because maybe your customers are mainly parking lot owners. So how you convince them to replace their old systems with a lot of money maybe to get a new one?
Okay, yeah, great. We're definitely dealing in a kind of an old industry, but it's critically important if you own parking, infrastructure and resource. This equipment can be very expensive. It can also be expensive to maintain, and the problem is they're kind of hard to manage, and also you're losing money all the time in ways you don't even know. Someone's always cheating the system. So when you have a ticket, it's the ticket can be lost, the ticket can be misled, and so it turns out if you replace the existing systems with our newer way, then the owner has complete knowledge of the system and control of the system for the first time ever. And the result is that in some cases, we've had the revenue increase from the month before to the month after by over 50%. Okay, and a parking facility may do $1 million a year. So if you can improve that kind of revenue, then it pays back for our equipment, in a month or 2. So very fast ROI, and this move up to the cloud changes all of your sort of management metrics as well. And then also it leads to a better experience for the users because you can just really drive in, drive out, lower burden on your staff as well. So in my view, we've used this combined approach to have a lower cost than even their traditional systems, but with all the new capability. So you have that kind of a disruption, it becomes a pretty fast sell.
And David, do you mind talking a little about your partnership with Broadcom? Because I guess that help you a lot in your development partnership.
Okay, sure. So yeah, just to be clear, Ayla is a zero inventory company. So when we started the company, we thought again that if we can partner with the communications chip providers, it would help our customers significantly. We met with every chip company, actually, all the major Wi-Fi guys. We thought Wi-Fi, there's lots of ways to connect to the internet. Wi-Fi maybe is the one that we think we all have in our homes anyway. And Broadcom is the leader in that market, so we were gratified, I suppose, that they shared the vision back when we started the company out of our kitchen. And so for actually several years I've been working with them. They have a fantastic roadmap. They you know, these chip companies invest so much more money than we as startups could ever invest into things and building better and better products. And so our software teams and our folks work with them and make sure that those chips connect seamlessly. So when you bring a device home, your app can find it, the device can find the cloud, and it does the grandma thing. That's what the Kindle does well. Real products solve all 10 out of 10 problems. And so by working directly with the chip companies, you can make things more secure, more scalable, and a great user experience.
I ask so many questions because when I talk to many IoT startups, they are all confused about how can I get my first partnership, because you have to have a brand to trust you, right? And so how about Qualcomm? Because I know Qualcomm also put a lot of effort in IoTs, but it's hard to say that's a success. Yeah, I think.
For anyone from Qualcomm, I think it's been a great success. Listen. So we have maybe like other guys here. It's easier to partner if you've maybe done something in the past where the folks might know you, and if you have a compelling idea and a vision and you are persistent, then I think you can get those partnerships done. I suppose a lot of companies are started by engineers where that may not be their core area of expertise. And so certain companies where they believe partnerships are critical to their success, I'd urge them to get someone who's really, that's really what they do very well.
And Ayla Works has been for a while, but you're still very pretty young company. And what kind of changes you see in the market for the last years?
Well, when we started the company in 2010, and Android started in 2010, it was kind of crazy to think about it, and we saw that touch screens were going to change how people kind of communicated with things around them. And we self-funded the company for 2 years, and then in the end of 2011, we went to raise our first round of funding, and we told investors we have this platform for the Internet of Things, and most of them said, what's the Internet of Things? And so that's changed. And then most of them said platforms suck. And then the others remaining would say, which things are you going to do? So we finally got to one or two very wise investors who understood that we really don't want to know what the things are. We want to make it scale across all of them. So the market has dramatically changed. There was an article every 3 months about the Internet of Things back then. Now we happen to be, it's like jargon people hear now. When we say we do a platform for the Internet of Things, people just say, yeah, you and everybody else. So the market has changed that way.
Barney, do you have any idea about market change? Market changes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would take I would say the same comment. Basically, even the concept of the cloud, 4 years ago, that wasn't even really a word. And we go back to the sort of late 90s, we were using the phrase application service provider. Okay, those of us who were in the game, and the idea to companies that they would actually have their critical data, they wouldn't need the systems on premise, they wouldn't have all their PCs, that was totally foreign. Now everyone's piling on, and you don't have to sell people that's valuable anymore. So I think kind of that, again, the thought that something should actually be connected. Now people are thinking, well, of course it should be connected. Everything's going to be connected. The trend is really strong. So I really think that's quite a reversal. Bodes very well for all these connected systems in the future.
So,
I actually think the market is going through a very weird acceleration phase. And if you look at typical disruption and innovation, you have these garage startups going up to, bigger startups, et cetera, and then at the end, or after a few years, you have the big players. After all the startups, some failed, some succeeded. There's validation to the idea. The big players are starting to bring in innovation. And here, you see big players taking risks that are very sort of characteristic to a startup. The fact that the acquisitions in these numbers are happening now before there even sort of validation that IoT really is a core value proposition for people. You see the Nest of the world, the GE, the Apple. It's like they're going somewhat berserk. I actually think they're creating a lot of hype, but might fix itself down at some point. So in terms of what's changing in the market, I think the way the market behaves is not typical, and I think everything is going to be accelerated. Typically standard, right? Bluetooth took 25 years. Wi-Fi took decades to make them into a standard. If you ask me, a standard for things or siloed standards for automotive, etc., is going to come much, much faster.
I went to CES for like 3 years in a row, and smart home is always the hottest topic there. But looking back to our home, I think nothing changed. So I'm really confused when the concept is so hard, but why can the reality change so slowly?
So I think it's because it's too hard. I mean, it is a great demo. It's an easy demo to do at CES. It is very hard to productize. If you are a manufacturer of refrigerators today, how many times have you done big data? And who in your IT department has? I think the answer is very, very, very few. It might round to zero. And then there's the whole concept of joining networks and certificates and all that. So these are easy demos to do, and now people can see the pieces coming together in AWS and all these other things there make it possible to dream a little where the dream and reality are closer. But really the manufacturers need a lot more help building and selling millions compared to where they are today.
Do you have can you predict the time that the smart home or smart systems gonna finally change people's life, street people's life?
Yeah, it's June 2016, probably the 5th or so.
I actually agree with that, to be honest. I think it's mid 16. Again, I think it's very much supply driven. And if you talk to the big CE players, this is when they're talking about releasing a portfolio of connected devices. So the shelves are going to be stocked. There is an adoption cycle, et cetera, but I think the tipping point is definitely 15, 16 towards a smart home.
Well, just one other comment. So we are seeing about 100 times as many designs this year as last year, and I think it'll be about that again in 2016. And the cost to add the connectivity is dropping precipitously. So Moore's law is driving the cost of adding stuff to the device, and our biggest supplier is in a price war. So Google and Amazon and everyone the cost to have something on the internet is extremely low right now.
And I think we'd better circle a date on our calendar when when the day comes and the door gonna open itself and the TV gonna greet ourselves. Yeah, and my final question is, and we're gonna let the audience ask questions, is since you talked about China earlier, and I'm curious about, since China is more mobile focused, like we talked before, and what do you think the different things gonna be in that market for Internet of Things, for such a unique environment?
Well, everyone in China is either using Weixin or something, and so I think those applications, those social networks, are really mobile-based, not PC-based that became mobile, and man, they do a great job of it. And so I believe there's this amazing application that the consumer in Chinese is trained to use, and those applications can be leveraged to do so much more. And I think it makes so much sense that the manufacturers want to sell to those consumers. Those consumers want to use probably those applications rather than some disparate thing for the washing machine and the dishwasher. So those are some of the things that we're investigating in China right now, and I think it's fertile ground there.
I think that mobile is ubiquitous, and it's actually just a great handheld interface to whatever physical systems you have. So then the real challenge is that those systems need to either speak kind of directly to the mobile device or indirectly up through the cloud where they both join there. Somewhere that interaction has to happen, and that's I think what everyone's trying to figure out is what's the right way to do it. I would say that I think that Bluetooth Low Energy also opens up some new doors because now you can actually have your devices speak to the, your mobile phone could speak to the device and could even speak possibly to the cloud right through the device using Bluetooth.
So I'm not familiar with the sort of consumer culture of China, if there is a single culture with such a big country. But I would say this, the Chinese government just last week said that $600 billion invested in IoT. So I think China as a hub or the government is going to be the world leader, the world leader in IoT investment by far. If you take all the other investors, aggregate them, you still don't get to half of what China is, ambitions. So I definitely see huge potential. I don't know again if it's consumer, but smart grid, smart infrastructure. I think as we saw China accelerating in many aspects in the past few years, you'll see that same thing with IoT.
Some entrepreneurs told me that their biggest concern is about their IP. Is gonna get protected in China or not? So, but since you expand so aggressively into China, I believe you have better solutions. So, how about sharing?
Well, whether in China or not, protecting your IP is important. I believe perhaps a bit more than in the U.S. market. The relationships with whom you're working is critical, and having people on the ground who you trust with your business, with your partnerships, with everything you do is a must. And then you just have to be maybe smart, especially a software company, I suppose. One could say it's easy to copy software, so you have to make it harder to copy your software or do things. I mean, for us, for example, I think things in the cloud, I suppose, they've been copied over and over again, but it might be a little harder to get the chip company to allow someone to put their software inside the chip. That would be kind of hard to do, but still, one must be vigilant. It's true.
I think two things on this. One is, as Dave was saying, trust is definitely important, and you want to work with really good partners. But the other thing is that you can now move. The more you can move the sort of more of the logic and more of the IP and the brains up into the cloud. So that's our cloud. It's running out of our company in the U.S. So then, in some sense, the devices, they are kind of like almost a kiosk. Okay, and so it's interesting design. There is unique stuff and it's special and we care. But the really big thing is what's all the brains and the logic, and that can now be totally separate. So then you can feel much more free about just building and iterating and expanding really rapidly with your Chinese partners.
I have nothing to add. Great answers.
Wow.
One other thing, those Chinese companies, and this has changed a lot, is that about 12 months ago they were all saying, I must have private cloud. They're more worried about their data. Frankly, and in the U.S., I think companies were like that, but maybe a year earlier, GE said, well, the industrial internet runs on AWS, and so we're seeing that shift. Everyone's worried about their data and the integrity of it, and it just has to be done well.
Yeah, I see. And we can take questions from audiences. So, anyone? If you want to have any questions for our speakers? Well, I guess it's really a hard area to understand. Yeah. Yes, please.
So I have a question for you. You talking about you want to develop the devices develop the technology to connect the different devices, but there are so many devices, refrigerator, doors. Like, how how do you like to unify the standard that you can have the uniform interface to connect to them? Like you are talking about partnership with some like Broadcom or some other companies, but I think they can only reach out to a few companies can do this stuff. Like you have like companies producing the refrigerator like Siemens or different company. How can you like to have them have the uniform standard?
So I agree, it's a big challenge, and there are standards initiative, either the Qualcomm all join, the AT&T and IBM alliance, or siloed around automotive, gaming, etc., etc. But these are going to take a lot of time, and currently you have about 20 protocols. I mean, even if you just take activity monitors, if I put 5 activity monitors on the same hand and walk, I will get 5 drastically different results. One of them will even be a fuel, which I don't know what that means, right? It's not a step. So I think in the beginning, what you need to do is create infrastructure to abstract and normalize information. So what is a step? Okay, so if you want to engage with an activity monitor, not this activity monitor, you need to have a unified understanding of what a step means. If you want to interact with a light bulb, regardless of which light bulb, somehow it has to go through a translation machine, and on and off should be the same for each light bulb. I, as a developer, should just write light bulb on, and the phone, whatever controls the light bulb, understand which light bulb are we talking about and shoot the right protocol, right command. So I think you see movement, definitely in startups, around this abstraction layer, normalization layer, on one hand. So this is sort of a bottom-up approach. Your device, don't do anything, just give me access, I'll do the work. And then you see top-down approach, you see the Qualcomms and the Sively and the AT&T and IBM, they're saying, no, this is the language you need to speak, embed this language, and then all will speak the same, essentially the same language. So these two are clamping, one from the bottom, one from the top. And if you ask me, in about a decade and a half, this is going to be simplified. But it's going to take a lot of time, a lot of effort.
So how do you use the open source community to solve this problem? I see your website in Neura that you pay a lot of attention on open source your SDK to make the developer able to like make them easier to connect to the device and develop their APIs. So like, for example, some companies, they focus on connect the refrigerator. Some focus on connecting the garage or some other. So I think all these companies, they can put their strengths together. Like they can, so how do you like elevate the open source community?
Why can't we all love? No, I agree. There are very different sets of interests. Many companies, they don't want to expose data outside of their own device, right? Many companies still think that if I give you a solution that only helps, if I'm just saying Samsung, just as an example. If I'm giving you an ecosystem solution, but you have to own Samsung everything in order to enjoy that solution, obviously, outside of maybe South Korea, there are no people that only own Samsung. Maybe Apple can pull that off. But other than Apple, the evolutionary state is that things are getting open, more and more open. In wearable tech, I think essentially every wearable tech today is either open or stating, I am going to be open. And when I say open, means I am going to expose some data sets to third parties to integrate with. And then there'll be a layer of integration. And in terms of open source, I think the open source community will definitely have a feast and is having a feast around integration between devices, interoperability. But I think open source will play, maybe a pioneer type of role. At the end of the day, open source has not widely proven to be a great commercial fit. Even Android began as an open source and then commercialized, right? Essentially.
Thanks.
I'm Kutlu from Istanbul, Turkey. And my question is about business models. I think the set of interests is also, in my view, maybe an outcome of trying to monetize or having to monetize from selling the good or renting it. Do you see new business models of the things being given away for free and then the data is sold or revenue is sold, ads, the monetization strategies, ads? Do you see new business models that will change how IoTs are deployed and sold and partnerships are built?
So just one thing about business model in this space is that most manufacturers don't have an ongoing billing relationship. So in my space and I think in the others it might work out well, but you can't charge a thermostat company $1 a year, really. Because a finance guy is like when my dog looks confused trying to understand me. It's sort of, how do I do that? What if it's out there for 50 years? So in our market, we have to fit not only the technology, but the business model to the companies. And so what we do, for example, we allow them to pay us regularly like that, but oftentimes we allow them what we call a SaaS buyout, so that they can pay for the software as a service upfront. Even though there's a monthly charge, we really try and make our business model meet that of our customers.
I think data monetization will also come. It's just not there yet. But reselling of data, Google, think about it. Today, Google charges you $1 a click to segment me as a male living in urban cities, whatever. And tomorrow, Google will be able to say, and he just finished a run, and he weighs over whatever, and he's on the way to Whole Foods, and this is where I want to target the user. Think how much Google can premium charge you for that. So this is a gold mine for data, connection to the physical world in a virtual sense.
And we have only last questions, and as an audience wanted to talk with our speakers, can find them off the stage. Please.
Thank you. This is a big picture question. So it says Internet of Things, which is an abstraction. It says get connected, which is a feature, not a benefit. And we have a lot of connected things which are for like single people. So I come from the family guy space. And I'm wondering if anyone can tackle the overall logistics problem of where are my kids? Are they safe? Are they doing their homework? Where do I need to drive to next? Where's the soccer game? And sort of help the family be less stressed about this welter of communication of just running everyday life. Is anyone going to rise up to that level and take on a problem like that?
We actually do that in a way. So for example, if our software and applications, the cloud and the devices, so there's something called geofencing, where you are able to extract the data of location of the mobile device. So if you have given your children a mobile phone, then you certainly...
Sadly, yes.
Well, it's good for when they want to call you. I mean, I think times are different, so they're probably happy. Anyway, so you can know where they are. There's a huge amount of data actually coming out of your phone. And so to be able to leverage that data and location compared to where you are, where the other kids are, all of that is possible today. And again, it's just leveraging the data, pulling the GPS coordinates, and maybe you have something that's an acceleration thing. It knows if your kid is somehow in a car that's going greater than X miles per hour, it sends you a text. I mean, all of that's possible right now.
I'm just gonna say this actually.
Which is okay if they're late for soccer practice, though.
So actually, I think a lot of the big mobile carriers already do offer sort of a Find My Family thing, and you can set up geofence boundaries, and you can know sort of the kids in school or they're at their friend's house. I don't know how much it's been put together at the level of like the track the total family and across all things. That's a great vision and really exciting. That'll be really interesting to build out over time.
Dashboard. Thank you.
I think Internet of Things is a really exciting area, and we want to thank the awesome entrepreneurs. It's their day and night work to make people's life smarter and connected. And thank you all for coming and speaking today.
Thank you, everyone.